memo, use callback, how to implement filter using a memo callback in our to-do application. So in the state, one more we discussed is about reducer. Today we will see how to implement it. What is reducer? It is used for configuring and using the application state. Application state. So reducer uses application state. For local state, which one you will use? For local state, which one you prefer? Use state. Use state is for local state, but it is not accessible to child. For that, which one you prefer? Context. Context is to share the state between parent and child. And but it is not, these are not accessible across sessions. Which one is across sessions? Across sessions is use reducer. Use reducer is across sessions. So we have to use this so that one session data can be shared with another. Generally, it is not possible. So, but we can do that by using global application state. First, we will see how it works. But in real world projects, use reducer is okay if your usage is limited. If we want to use at large scale, then we need a special library. And what is that special library? Redux. Redux is the library. Let's see. And Redux library is for helping developers, providing tools so that they can easily debug the state. They can track, predict, debug, because they are all difficult in real time. Predicting the state, knowing what is in the application state, knowing when it is being updated, it is very difficult for developer. For them, some tools are designed. Those tools will help them to easily understand how the state is working. We will see both of them. First, yesterday already I given definition about reducer. What components it contain. A cycle I explained. I will upload the diagram also. Yesterday I showed a flow. What are the main components in reducer? Reducer components, we are having store, state. So we have a reducer and we have a dispatcher. These are the major ones. Store refers to initial state. Initial state means the data that you want to store and you want to use across sessions. State is for collecting the data from the store and providing to component. Reducer identifies the actions performed in the component, identifies the changes in the store, changes in the state data, and it will update into the store by using dispatcher. By using dispatcher, the data from a component can be sent to store. Once it is updated in store, any session can view it. Any session can get that update. It can see those updates. So how this works? So in simple point, I will show. Later we will implement in our to-do application. First, I will show in general app. Means in our general application how it works. Then we will see large scale. Okay, in this application, what I am doing, this is our general React app. In this React app, okay, I will add a component called reducer demo. Okay. Okay. reducer demo .jsx. Fine. Export function reducer demo. Okay, return a simple container. Okay. So for example, live video, something, and I am using some iframe with some 400, height some 400, yeah, 300, that's enough. And below this I will keep a div. So we'll put button class btn bi thumbs up. Okay, this is just likes. How many likes? Just roughly I'm using one option, just one concept enough. Later we can add others. As I told you, first we will learn the logic, then we will implement the functionality in our project real application. So first point, let's make this reducer demo in startup. Okay, and in this reducer demo we are going to add some source. Source is coming https some youtube.com/embed some video code. So YouTube Naresh IT some video. So this is the video code. Let me copy this and I will use it here. Okay. Okay. This is the video code we are having. Let's run this. So this is the video we are having. Now, what is the concept is container. Okay. When I click this likes counter should increment. That we can do with general logic plus increment. But I will sign out. Another person will sign in. For him also this count should update and display. That means across sessions it must be available. That we will create sessions in our to-do application. We will do that because we need multiple users, login, logout and all. So what is the concept? You are liking a video from your session. That like must be visible to another person in his session. When he logged in, he must able to see it. How this is possible? We can store the likes counter in our app memory, application level global memory, so that every session can watch and use it. Otherwise, if you maintain in any state, it is accessible only to this session. You use context, you use props, you use ref, use memo, all are available only to the current session. Once the session ends, but means he sign out, all the data is lost. So now we must able to make it accessible across, means we need to keep in the memory, global memory. How it is possible? We have some stages. So let's see how we can implement. So implementing, so reducer, how to implement reducer? We will see the concept of this process. First, I will give the process what to do. First point, what you have to do is create a global application state as initial state. Create a global application state as initial state. So it can handle any type of data. So LET initial state is equal to, it is an object, it can have any key and value. You can have multiple keys and values. State is an object with key and value and can handle any type of data in keys. State is an object with keys, with key and value collection. Value can be any type. Value can be any type. So actually this represents the store. Store is the location where data is kept. Here data is kept in which place? Data is kept in initial state. Initial state contains all the data. How to access the data and use in our component? How to update this again back to the store? This entire work is managed by reducer. What reducer will do? It will contain state and actions. It will collect the data from the store and it will use. It will identify changes and it will update back to the store. So next step, what we have to do is create a reducer function that handles state and actions. Create a reducer function that handles state and actions. So it is going to handle the state and actions. We can create a reducer function that can handle state and actions. So we need to create one function called reducer. It will contain state and action. And here we need to configure a switch. Into that, we have to define the action type. If the case is matching with type 1, type, then it will perform the actions. What to do, you have to define. Case is matching with another type, then it has to define actions. That is how we need to define. That means a reducer defines on which action what should happen. How many actions you need? I want like, dislike, views, comments. I want to keep all of them global. How many views, how many likes, how many dislikes, how many views, sometimes how many shares, how many saves. You see Instagram, right? That means you need different action types on which type what it should do. That means on like click what should happen, on dislike click what should happen, on view what should happen, on comment what should happen. All this we need to manage using reducer. Now how it will send this to the store again? Reducer will perform the action, update the data, and it should again update the data to which location? Into the state. That means from state data is coming and data is inside where? Reducer. Reducer takes the data, gives to component. Reducer identifies what is happening in the component, and after that it will dispatch the updated information to whom? Again to the store. The updated information it will dispatch to the store. How it will do? That is done by using the concept. Next step what we have to do is, so create a dispatcher by using use reducer hook. Create a dispatcher using use reducer hook. What it is going to do is, it can identify the action, it can identify the changes in data, it can carry the payload and update into store. That means initial state. It can update into the initial state. All these things it can do. Syntactically, dispatcher is written like this. Syntactically, dispatcher is defined like this. So, how we define this LET? So, we need two options. One is state. So, we need two options. Right. One is state, another one is dispatch. Use reducer. In that, it should use reducer function and initial state. Reducer uses reducer function and initial state. Reducer uses reducer function and initial state. State is used to access the data from store. Dispatch is used to send any data to store with action. Dispatch is used to send any data to store with action. This is the basic process how we can do. In small scale uh, interactions where reusability, separation concerns are not there, we don't need much data to handle. Simple data we want to handle, then we can try using reducer. Let's see how this works actually. That means syntactically what we do is, here we have to dispatch. So we have to define the type. So this is action type. Dispatch the action type. That means which action you want. You need to define that. Let's see at small scale how we can implement this. For example, in this now, I'm configuring initial LET initial state is equal to object. We want likes. Likes is one, counter 0 is there. Likes, dislikes, views, comments, any type of data we can store. As of now, we are dealing with only one data, that is likes. Okay. So next important, or we can add dislikes and others also, but this is enough. This is the data we want to maintain globally. So any user can see the likes from another user. That is the main concept. Because I am showing a integrated example, I kept everything in one file. In next level, we will separate. Store separate file, action separate file, everything will be cleanly separated. That is the best for industry level, how to handle. Okay. Next, we need to create a function called reducer. This reducer function will have state and will have an action. And we will have some condition. You can use if condition, switch case. Switch is better because if many actions you are planning, then switch is better. If action dot type, what is the action type you are expecting? If action type is like, then what should happen? So then it should return likes object, it should return likes key. And what like should happen? State dot likes. So state dot likes plus 1. That means what it should do, get the likes from the state already whatever they have, and in that add 1 and store in the likes. That means from the current state, because state can access this initial state. From the store, data can be accessed by whom? By using state. What it is going to do, it is going to increase by 1 and it is going to update into this location. That's fine. Now what we need to do, we need to use this reducer. So how we can use the reducer in our component? We have to define LET. We need two references. One is state, another one is dispatch. Dispatch is equal to what? Use reducer. Use reducer is expecting reducer function. Reducer function is reducer and it is expecting initial state. What actions to perform and what data to handle. You need to pass both. Actions are defined inside reducer. Data is updated into this. Now what we have to do? So we will write a function handle like click. Okay, on like click, what we have to do? Dispatch likes action. That means what it should do? Dispatch. What is the action type? So action type, it should dispatch the action type what? Like this one. That means when I click like button, it will send like action. To whom? It will send the like action to reducer. What reducer will do? It will check that the action is like. It will increase the like by 1 and it will store the likes and it will update into the initial state. It will update into the initial state. Initial statements here na, it is globally updated. So when we have to do that, on click handle like click. And where to display the likes? I will display here. How to access the store and display here? We can do that by using state. State dot what? Here we put a dynamic. We have state dot what? Likes. We need to access the likes. That means through this state, we can access the likes. We can access the likes. Observe carefully here. this use reducer is returning an object. So many times people get confused. Like they ask, like, how do we know that this is an array destructure or object destructure? That means, how do we know is it an array destructure or object destructure? Suppose we are accessing state dot likes. That depends on uh, the return value of this function. If it is returning array, we have to use an array destructure. If it is returning object, we have to use object destructure. In JavaScript, you already learned array destructuring and object destructuring. Array destructure, what it is going to do, it will separate the values of array into individual references. Object destructure will separate them into separate references. For example, I will tell you. Actually, this is general JavaScript point. I will show you. In JavaScript, what is array destructure? Where we have values is 10, 20. What is our requirement? Separate 10 and 20 and store in two different variables. How? So where a comma b is equal to values. This is the modern JavaScript of destructuring array. You learned in JavaScript already. Now what will happen? The value 10 will be stored in A. The value 20 will be stored in B. That is a simple array destructure. For example, where product is having, it is an object. It is having name and it is having price. Now what I want to do is, I want to separate product and price. Name and price. I want to separate name and price into two different variables. Then generally without destructure, what we do, we declare name is equal to product dot name. And we declare another variable called price is equal to product dot price. We do like this. Now we don't need to do like this. What is object destructure? We will simply use where object destructure contains two keys. One is name, another one price. From which one? Product. That's it. From name key, it will access this value and it will store in name. From a price key, it will access the number and it will store. Remember, these reference names should match with key names. Reference name must match with key names. If I write name uppercase, it is invalid. It will return undefined. Why? Because object keys names must be used as reference names. Then this is name and price. So what happens? Console.log name. I'm using name. And what it can do, this is, yeah. What it can do, I will run this and you can see that it is going to display the name. You can see it shares TV. That means name is separate. That means you can access the name separate, you can access the price separate. Console.log. Suppose I'm using price uppercase. Here I'm using price uppercase. Then you will see that it will say that price is undefined. Because the name should match with exactly key name. Actually, in JavaScript, you can give an alias name equal to price. Now it is fine. That means what we can do, the name, original name, we can put an alias. That means now this lowercase price can be accessed by uppercase price. Now there is no problem. It can access and it can show. Acha, where is price? Price is not defined. Here price. Price, already price is there na. Price is equal to price. Actually price is equal to, what is the reference name? Price. Suppose name is equal to name. I'm accessing here. I will just use this one, name. Oh, it is showing price not defined. It should accept. It is working fine. Why price is not defined? So what is it? Price is equal to price. Oh, some issue is there. But actually this is aliasing. Huh? Aliasing is nothing but what is point? Instead of accessing the original name, we can use an different name. Suppose I can give the name as product name. Then how to access it? By using which one? Product name. I have to access with product name. Then it will get and it will display. We can use alias names, right? Now, means how do you know? Is it array destructure or is it object destructure? Depends on what value it is going to return. Actually, here so much is there. Do you know you can give a default value also? For example, the product is not having any property called stock, but here we mentioned stock. That means it is having price and we are having stock. But stock is not there in original product. Then whenever you try to print stock, it will say undefined. You can put default value. Default also we can assign. This is all object destructuring. In JavaScript, we call this as object destructure. So first, what you should know, you should understand what this use reducer is returning. Is it an array or an object? So when you go here, go to definition, you can see this reducer is returning an array. That reducer is returning array. Square brace means the final return is what? Array. If it is returning array, then how to destruct? By using array destructure. Array destructure is square brace. If it is returning object, we use an object destructure, right? We have array destructure, object destructure. Okay. Now see what happening here. So in our application, it is showing 0 likes. And when I click the button, what should happen? Like counter should increase by 1. I click on this, like counter should increase by 2. And what is speciality is this generally count plus plus is enough. Why you are using state, dispatch and all these things? Because the likes that you have done in this session, they are stored globally. From any another session, we can access and see them. That we will implement now in large scale we will do. That means for that what we have to do? Sign in, sign out, multiple users log in. A network based environment we have to create. Already we created. We created in which location? To do. We will implement this mechanism in to do, but using Redux. Large scale we will do. What is advantage of large scale? Easy to debug, easy to test. We can implement. Let's see this how to use in real time. We will implement that. So what is the concept? Example, I will give one simple example. What is this example is reducer demo dot what? JSX. I will copy this sample code and I will give it to you here, that I am accessing here. And remember, see, generally, suppose I am copying this and I am using from another browser. You can see it shows 0 likes. It shows 0 likes. Suppose I'm using in another tab of this browser and you can see it is showing 0 likes. Why? Because still the sessions are not created. We haven't created any session, and the current application is accessible only because I haven't made global actually. Where I written everything inside this component file. Na? Initial state is in this component file. What will happen once the component finished? All the data is deleted. That's the reason again it is reset to how much? 0. If I kept it in a separate file globally, then we can use from any location, which we will see now. We will implement that how to handle. So what is problem in reducer? What is problem in application state? This is the main concept. Issues with application state. What are the issues with application state? What are the issues with application state is global uh, global global state is updated from various sessions. Hence it is not easy to predict the data in memory. It is not easy to predict the data in memory. So it is not easy to track and debug the application state. It is not easy to track and debug the application state. So it is not good for reusability, extensibility, and testability. Hence, we need external libraries with toolkit. We need external libraries like Redux with toolkit. What is toolkit? Toolkit provides end-to-end solution for a developer. That means a developer needs lot of tools from building to deploying. Building, debugging, testing, deploying. For every purpose, he needs some separate tools. And toolkit provides all the tools for him. Actually, we can use people in software designing, development, application development. We use the terms called tool chain. Tool chain, toolkits means they provide end-to-end solution for a developer. They provide end-to-end solution for a developer. For example, if anyone asks what is Bootstrap, you learned Bootstrap. If anyone asks what is Bootstrap, then we see that people telling that Bootstrap is a library, Bootstrap is a framework. That's all not great. Even interviewers sometimes ask, Bootstrap is a library or framework? I have faced many of our students when they go to interview, they came again back saying that, sir, interviewer asked me, is Bootstrap a library or framework? So, but we learned that Bootstrap is not a library or framework, it is a toolkit. It is a toolkit, means it is more than them. A library is responsible for building. A framework is responsible for controlling the flow. And a toolkit provides all the solutions from building to deploying. From building to deploying, it will provide all the solutions. Actually, when you see that, this is all the point. Suppose you see get Bootstrap, you can see what Bootstrap people say about Bootstrap. They say that it is a powerful, extensible, feature-packed front-end toolkit. Right now, some people who don't know all these things, they come and ask. I regularly face in my demos people who come to learn React. Right now, see, I will tell frankly one point. You joined React course. You want to join React course, right? You will ask, sir, will you send me the course content? I will send you the course content. Now you will seriously examine the course content. What you are examining, you don't know anything about it. What you are looking at, titles, colors, photos, titles. What you are examining in that without knowing technology. You came here to learn a technology and you are seriously examining course content. First session, people ask, sir, send me course content. Okay, I sent. What you will do? I will preserve it. After learning every topic, I will tick mark. This topic completed. This topic completed. At the end of session, I will ask the faculty, sir, these topics missing. That is the purpose of course content for you. Other than that, nothing. You don't know anything in course content. Why you need a course content? Right now, the point is that is because I know that I know or I heard that these are the concepts which are important in this course. Some person who is already working, some person who already learned, he suggested me this. And who is that person? He also don't know anything properly. But he suggested that please check they are teaching this topic or not. Then what you will do, you will verify whether the topic is in that course content or not. Right? We face this regularly, not from these days. 25 years I am seeing this. Right, from past 25 years I am training on .NET, I am training on Angular and React like technologies. Right, and every time we face the same problem in demo. In demo, we have to face like he is interviewing me. Like he will be asking. After 10-15 days, they will step back. They can understand. Right? First 10-15 days, too much overexcited. This doubt, that doubt, this question, that question. As if I am dealing with this first time. But lakhs of people got trained. So, right, we know all the points. What is the problem is your friend knows the topic in one way and he stick to that and he will ask the same. For just example, people ask, do you know JavaScript? I said that I know ES6. And I have seen so many times, like when I say that we will learn JavaScript, then people ask, sir, after JavaScript, will you teach ES6 also? Seriously? What is ES6? What is JavaScript? What is ES6? What is JavaScript? Sir, ES6 is advanced JavaScript. You invented, right? That means ES6 is version of JavaScript. Right? These immature questions, but still we need to correct them. We need to correct them. Whenever we say that we are teaching Redux, now immediately many people come. Will you teach Redux toolkit also? Redux is a toolkit. Right? Redux is a toolkit. Will you teach Redux toolkit or only Redux? I have faced this question so many times. Seriously, do you know about Redux then? That means they just know half of knowledge, little bit awareness on YouTube websites. This all half of knowledge about the concept, and they come and they ask question. Then we need to correct them that Redux is Redux toolkit. Redux is not separate. Redux toolkit is not separate. Right? These are very basic things. So you are learning Redux means you are learning Redux toolkit. Right? After Redux, I will not teach toolkit again. Okay, na? Right? Because Redux itself is Redux toolkit. Right? What is this toolkit? What is the main concept of toolkit? Let's see. And why you need this Redux toolkit? Why you need this Redux toolkit? What is the main purpose of this Redux toolkit? The main concept about Redux toolkit is, the main option about Redux toolkit is the solution for the problems earlier we are having. So what it do? That means Redux is a JavaScript library. Actually, it is a JavaScript library. It is a JavaScript library. Redux is a JavaScript library for handling global application state. For handling global application state. It provides a complete toolkit. It provides a complete toolkit for developers and it provides a complete toolkit for developers and makes application state predictable, debuggable, testable, etc. All these we can do, and makes the application state predictable, debuggable, testable. So generally, library contains a set of functions, not just only functions, it has so many other tools that makes easy for predicting, debugging, test. Right. Actually, that is the main concept. So you see Redux.js, you can see it is a JavaScript library, and it provides predictable, maintainable global application state. And it has so many options: centralized, predictable, debuggable, flexible, so many features. And why it provides a toolkit? Toolkit is to handle and plug in with different technologies. That means it is why a toolkit is required. In general terms, why a toolkit is required? To assemble it with different technologies. It is a library, but how you can connect with different technologies using toolkit? That means how you will connect with React, how you will connect with Angular. Redux is a JavaScript library, can be used with any JavaScript technology. Then how you will connect with those technologies? By using toolkit. Right? By using toolkit, we can connect to different technologies. React Redux is different. Angular Redux is different. Vue Redux is different. Different means concept is same. Methods, implementation technique changes a little bit. Rest of concept is same. That means Angular also uses Redux. Angular also uses Redux. Actually, it uses Redux by using this NGX, NGRX. This is Angular Redux. They are related to Angular, right? So what is the point is global application state is common across all technologies. It is common across all technologies. Only the point, the way how you handle. Let's see how we can handle here. How it works also, process we should know. Let's see how it works. First point, uh, to track, to debug, to test, you need one more option to do. What you have to do is, so you need developer needs debugging tools like Redux dev tools, which is available as plugin for various browsers. Right, that is the Redux toolkit. Unique, you can download this actually in my browser. You see in my browser I have installed in the extensions, you see Redux dev tools. And this React Redux dev tools is not working now. Why? Because for that you need some Redux store inside. You see no store found. Current application don't have any store to show you. And these tools will clearly track everything and show you. That means what is happening, what is updated, what is the data stored in memory, everything it will display. Who is updating, when it is updating, what is the previous state, what is the current state, everything we can manage here. I will show how we can handle that. For that, first what you have to do, you have to install. Let's see the step-by-step process. First one, install Redux toolkit for React. So this is how we need to install. npm install redux redux.js toolkit /toolkit and React Redux. Right. So we have to install Redux toolkit for our application. And remember, Redux toolkit for different technology, different plugin. That means for general JavaScript apps, different, for React, different, and for Vue.js, different. Like that, they have different tools. Next step, what we have to do is, the next important point is the toolkit. Redux toolkit provides, uh, remember, generally the same Redux is used in several ways depending on project requirement. We will learn the best way for industry. That means for real world industries projects, what is the best way that we will use. Without that also they can do. There are so many ways of using Redux. What is the best way is, first important is create a slicer. Create a slicer. What is this slicer? Actually, slicer is a toolkit component. Slicer is a toolkit component. What it actually contains? It comprises of initial state. It comprises of initial state. What is initial state? Initial state defines the data to store in application memory. What data to store in application memory? So slicer is a component which comprises of initial state. It contains initial state. Initial state defines the data to store in application memory. What data you want to store in application memory. Not only that, it comprises of reducer. It comprises of reducer. And what is reducer? Reducer defines the actions to perform. Reducer defines the actions to perform. Actions collect data that is called payload from component and update into store. Actions collect data from component and update into store. So slicer is a toolkit component, and this component handles the data that you want to use in application memory, and it is also responsible for handling the actions. What actions to perform, on which action, what functionality, that is defined by using what? Slicer. Actually, how we define the slicers? We have a method, create slice. Create slice is a method. By using the method, we can handle. Remember, Redux.js versions are fastly changing, very fast. Before you implement, you need to check once they have the same options or not, because for previous batch of React, Redux have some methods. Now for your batch, it is changing. That means you are watching a tutorial or watching some notes. So 5 months back, 6 months back, React learners notes, and you are verifying and trying it, it will fail now. Why? Because some deprecations, changes will happen. You need to keep in touch. Especially toolkit components are regularly changing. For example, first thing, you see slicer. You see in this Redux.js. Yeah. In this Redux.js, you search for create slice. So this is the create slice method. And you can see this is the create slice method. This is create slice method. This is create slice method. It is as it is available. There is no change, no problem. Why I am showing this? Because see, later you will see create store method. There is a create store method. This method is deprecated. That means you will see such warnings. You will see the danger, and the original Redux store create store method is deprecated. That means in latest release, they have removed this, and they recommend that better you use another one called configure store. Don't use create store. Actually, for your previous batch of React people, we explained create store. That means how to create a store and use it in the project. But for you, it's changed. And after you, even for you, after few months, it may change, because this is causing lot of headache for us. Why? Because um, uh, means during this year from January to April, I have completed 4 batches approximately of React.js. In 2 batches, they added create store. After that, they deprecated. Again, they added configure store. For 1 batch, I explained configure store. For second batch, again, they removed it and again made create store. That means they are still trying it. Why they are trying? Because it is still not a GA. GA means general available version. It is a beta version. In beta version, what they do, they keep on changing. Then we need to keep in touch. We need to check. But companies will not use the beta version. They will use the GA version. GA version means general availability. If any software is GA, they will use it. But whenever you run the command npm install, it will install the latest one, latest beta version. Beta version also it will install. Beta versions are not for implementations, they are just for testing, for development. As a developer, you want to test what is latest happening, you can try them. But in real time, beta versions are not used. They always use a stable version. Stable version. Actually, this Redux here, you can see this is Redux, and this is the Redux toolkit. You have the Redux toolkit. When you go to this Redux toolkit, you can go to the documentation API. You can see the documentations here. They will provide you which one is deprecated, which one is available. So that means you see here, so configure store, and you can see they use create store, configure store. We have to first check in their official resource which one is deprecated and or not, because blindly if you try whatever we learned few months back or few days back, it may misfire, it may not work. Sometimes you need to keep in touch. I have seen practically for 2 batches it shuffled. For few days they made create store, after that they made configure store. The point is, the good concept is it will work, both will work, but it will show with a lot of warnings saying that this one is deprecated, don't try. So according to current recommendations, so first point, how the slicer will be created. So by using create slice method, so slicer is created by using which method? Create slice. Create slice. The complete process I will explain, but first I will give the syntaxes, right? How we define. So generally what we do in SRC, we will add a folder called slicers. In the slicers folder, we will add slicer. Suppose some slicer dot JSX. We will add a slicer JSX file. That means slicers are maintained in a separate folder called slicers. And how do we define is constant slicer name is equal to create slice method. And this create slice method is expecting name. Name is the slicer reference name. Any reference name you can give. And it is expecting initial state. And it is expecting reducers. It is expecting reducers. Reducers is an object with can have it can have multiple action. Action 1, state and action. Similarly, action 2, it can have state and action. Like this, we can define functionality. Slicer contains a slicer name, initial state, and actions. And what we have to do, so we need to create initial state, and initial state is an object. So here you need to define what data it should handle. You know, key and values. After that, what we have to do is we need to export action 1, action 2 from where? We need to export from slicer name dot actions. From slicer name actions, we have to export. Similarly, we have to export slicer name dot reducer. We have to export because we are maintaining in a separate file. So if you export, then you can use. So we need to export these two actions, then only we can use these two actions in any component. The state and action can be used in any component only when they are exported. We have to export. Because it is an object, by using object destructure, we have to export. We have to export that. Okay, this is called a slicer. First, we have to create one slicer. Okay. After creating the slicer, what is the next step we have to do? These are only phases. After learning this, we will implement it, right? Okay, slicer is created. After creating the slicer, next step, third, is create a store by using configure store. Create a store by using configure store. Previously, create store. Previously, it was create store. Now it is configure store. Already I showed you in their official website. I closed it. Yeah, you can see configure store. Yeah, this is the configure store method. And as I told you, configure store is the option. And this configure store, you see, it is showing create store, right? So it is creating the store by using create store. But according to their documentation, it is by default, it is deprecated. It is deprecated. So you see, creating store, they are mentioning create store by using create store only. Right? By using create store only. This causes a lot of confusion for learners. Why? Because here it is showing create store, but in the official documentation, they already showed. I showed you just now that create store is deprecated. Actually, better they should have disabled this, and they have given only the options of configure store. Why they have still left these examples like this? Because every new version is backward compatible. That means I can install a older version and I can use the old features instead of using the new one. That's the reason. So that you have to define like this. What we need to do, constant, first point, first file we have to create. In SRC, we will create a store.jsx. So we have a export constant store is equal to configure store. And this configure store uses a reducer, and this reducer is using slicer name. What actions and what data is defined by this slicer? Na? Why we are using slicer? Slicer contains actions and data. What is the data to be stored and when it should be updated? That is defined by slicer. Slicer contains state and actions. Store will use the state and actions. It will store the data in state and it will update the data using actions that we need to define. That is one concept. After that, next what you have to do is configure provider. Configure provider in main.jsx. You have to go to main.jsx. Actually, we have to use a provider. It uses a store coming from the store. And in this provider, your entire component should work. Here you have to mention the router. Right? That means all the components that should run inside this scope only. Already you may be using a cookie provider. Along with cookie provider, you need a store provider also. Store provider. And you know router provider, na? Router provider is using router. It is coming from routes, right? Or it is any index component. That means all the routes that are working inside this provider scope can use the store. Remember, even they sign out, thus data is available for another component, which we will see how to do. Next point, what we have to do is components can dispatch the data to store using various actions. So toolkit provides use dispatch hook. Toolkit provides use dispatch hook. So generally what we do is syntactically dispatch is equal to use dispatch. By using the dispatch method, we will send the data. By using dispatch, we need to send the data. That means it uses an action and we need to send the data into that action. That means this action is going to store this data in the store again. It is going to store the data in that. I will show all this process step by step in our to-do application. First, if you know the syntax and order correctly, then I will implement and show. In two examples, we will do, not one. In to-do application, we will do. In another application also, we will do. Then another application, only 20% I will help. Rest you have to do. Because already one application completely I showed you. So next one you have to try. There you can implement all these again. all these concepts again. I will explain that, how to handle them. Next, after doing this, next one more option is you can access and use the store from any component. How we can do that? By using store dot get state dot whatever data is present you can access. Store provides a method called get state. By using get state method, you can access the data that is kept in the store. You can access and use it. That is the process we can do. So now we will implement all this in our project and do this. That means in our to-do application, a user can share his appointment with other users. How? That is possible. Using Redux, it is possible. Tomorrow we will do that. Right, in tomorrow's session, we will implement this example. How to handle and how do we work the complete process. One more time, I will show this. Okay, right. Yeah.